Hello everyone. Uh, Now I'd like to talk about reality check in Wing Chun and how much of it would you actually practically use. Okay. Now Wing Chun is for me like a tool shed. It's got all different sets of tools. This, and you can use any of them. You can specialize on any one of them. You can mix and match any of them as you like. That is what the whole system is. Okay. The first part is to entrain and absorb all of these different movements into your subconscious, the body mechanics that the system teaches into your subconscious, so that under pressure you get the most out that you can. Okay. When you entrain the system, you train the movements, you train the motions, you're creating new neurological pathways, you're joining the hemispheres of both the hemispheres of your brain, you essentially rewiring your system. Okay, that's very important. That is what the training would entail. It would also, at a very basic level, change your reflexes from this to that, straight out. Okay. Therefore, you have all these various hand tools. Now, in theory, and when you train in class, and you must train them how you do so in class, you would think, oh, okay, here's a Mansao, here's a Wusao. Mansao is the asking hand; it sees what happens. Wusao is a protecting hand, etc. It's good. Uh, in reality, it may not. It will generally not work. Okay. You might think, oh, he's going to take a swing at me, and I'll do that. Yeah, sure. You need to practice this anyway, so that you understand it. But in reality, if somebody wants to bridge the gap and he's out to get you, you blink and they'll be in front of you. So you won't have chance to do all this, right? You won't have chance to use most of the tools. You may use just the basic tools. And now I'd like to share how the conclusions I came to for myself. I started out with the WT system as taught by the Grandmaster Linting, and this was in 1997. And the WT system at that time was very, their vision was very, they're fairly quite broad-minded in their vision and their approach, because they would teach the student from the first go in order to how to apply Wing Chun with under different with different scenarios, under different kinds of inputs from karate, etc. What would you do with the Wing Chun that you have? And also the WT Sifus at the time were very good fighters, and unfortunately that curriculum has been changed to what it is now, and I don't find that applicable anymore. Then I also learned Guangzhou Wing Chun, which was more refined, more body, like refined movements, different body structure, etc. But the application part, I always go back to how the WT utilized it. So I used to go and try out with my friends and with other martial artists here in Dubai. There are not that many at the time. This is the late 90s, early to maybe 2000 as well. So I went and approached a boxer friend of mine who was also in the armed forces, the US Armed Forces, and he was setting up a security company. So I said, look, I just like to test out my Wing Chun and stuff. And surprise, surprise, when I squared off with him, and we were wearing those light gloves, those small ones, not the big ones. I couldn't use a Tan Sao, I couldn't use a Bong Sao, none of that worked, because he was too fast and his combinations were too good. And I had a good few, a nice hammering, let's say. And then I said, okay, let me go back to the drawing board and see what went wrong. Because I was actually thinking, oh, he's going to do, I'll do that, I'll do this, I'll do that, whatever. Then I went, changed my training appropriately. I still continued the classical training because you do need to do that, but changed my approach towards the application part. And then I said, okay, let's see. And because see, in combat, it's only a few seconds, 2 or 3 seconds or 4 seconds, 5 seconds, not more than that. And you have to be very decisive in that. So therefore, you cannot use fancy movements in that. The fancy movements are only there when you train for your subconscious, whatever, training, embedment. Okay. So what did I do next? I said, okay, I'll look into the concept of covering. Now the concept of covering is there in Wing Chun, and Sifu Duncan Leung, actually his entire teaching emphasizes that. And that would work more than any fancy bridging, because you cover and then you're in range. Okay. Now also remember, instead of blocking and thinking of bridging, or rather it's chasing hands actually. If you can touch the hand, you can touch the body, right? And the first concept of Wing Chun is, if the way is clear, you go forward. So why would you want to waste time doing this? Why would you want to waste time doing that? You don't want to do that. So what I would do is, I just started wedging in, making a triangle. See, it's a triangle, and just wedge in, and I would be able to even take address a double handed attack as well, and then from there go on to going for the kill, and that really worked. My friend went up and boom, straight in. Okay. The second thing I used was covering. What if I'm not fast enough for the wedge? Then I need to cover. What do people usually go for? The face. And they expect you to be there when they punch. So covering with footwork. Then you have something to work with. Okay. So these two things are what I started using, and it worked very well. Wedging, covering. Okay. So you have this barrier, and you cover. You cover whatever, and you're also covering your areas. So that's my input for you for as far as Wing Chun is concerned, and I hope you like these videos. I'm making these especially for my friends and the students in India. Wing Chun is a big thing in India now, and you have about 4 or 5 very serious people propagating the art. And okay, thank you.